What's up, guys? Story time. Went out to go do some testing in the Jetta. You can see I got the slicks on it. It started out really smooth, really good, ran perfect. All of a sudden it quit making boost. Not sure why. I did notice the turbo, I couldn't hear it at all. Like it wasn't spinning. I was like, well, alright, I'm just gonna drive back home and take the intake off and see what's going on. Well, I took the intake off and this thing is locked up. Will not move at all, which isn't good. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's not getting the oil flow, because that's usually what happens when turbos, lock up. They're not getting the oil that they should. So I just removed the oil feed line and shoved it into a water bottle. The feed line goes right here. My idea is I'm gonna start the car for maybe like 10 seconds and see if oil comes out of the feed line, which it should. So you're gonna stay out here and watch this while I start the car. So as you can see, that was started for maybe 5 seconds, and it's almost a full water bottle of oil. So it's definitely flowing the oil it should be, which kind of scares me. So it's definitely getting the oil flow. Next, I'm gonna, I guess, go ahead and pull this turbo off and tear into it. The only other thing I can think of is maybe I chipped a valve and a piece of the valve went through the exhaust manifold into the turbo and is locking up the turbine or something. I don't know, it could be a valve, it could be something going through the intake. I don't know, but I'm gonna take this turbo off, pull it apart, and see what I can find. Alright guys, I just got the turbo off. It's a little dirty, but nothing looks out of the usual, except for it does not spin at all. Can't even really see the fin. There you go. Yeah, it don't move at all. The exhaust side, the fins look normal. There's not really anything that's coming out at me. I'm gonna take this compressor housing off, and then I might even take the exhaust housing off and just have the center cartridge left and see what that looks like. It looks fine. There you go. So basically that piece you saw fall out of the turbo on the bench over there was the wastegate Basically, this is a twin scroll manifold, and it's only got one wastegate. So basically, if you go back like probably like 30 videos, that guy passes probably once every 2 days, and he's got some crackle tune, and it never stops. Anyways, what I was saying, this is a twin scroll exhaust manifold, and we're only using one wastegate. So there's a divider to divide, you know, the right 3 cylinders and the left 3 cylinders, so you know they don't mix. Well, we had a little piece in there. You can see right here. There was a piece that came up. It went up to basically the bottom of the valve of the wastegate. Well, I guess from too much anti-lag and two-step and this and that, that piece broke off, went into the exhaust manifold, and then out here through the turbo and got stuck in the fins. So our manifold that we made is a little bit faulty. The right way, or the way that it should have been made, is to use 2 wastegates, you know, one for 3 cylinders, one for the other 3 cylinders. But I'm cheap, I'm poor, broke, I'm trying to ball on a budget here, so I only used one wastegate. Kind of my fault, but it is what it is. I just sent the turbo out. I'm getting a new fin, exhaust fin, and I'm getting the whole thing rebalanced. Basically just like a rebuild. And I should be getting that back within the next week or 2, and I'll get this whole thing together. I guess we're kind of at a stopping point with the Jetta. Can't really do anything until I get the turbo back. So we are going to switch directions to the truck and try to finish assembling the engine that's going in that. Well, the crank spins, that's a good sign. Alright guys, I got all the bolts torqued down to 81 foot-pounds. No, 81 newton meters, which is 60 foot-pounds. They're all torqued. I'm getting ready to pull them back off right now to check the plastic gauge and make sure the tolerances are right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Alright guys, just pulled off all the main caps. I got them sitting over here on the bench, and you can see on every bearing there's that little green kind of mark there. That is the plastic gauge, and that is what you measure. I kind of forgot there's a groove in the middle of these. You can see there's like a piece of the plastic gauge right in between there. I should have offset it to where it, you know, hit on the bearing surface and not in the oil groove. But there's enough on the surface that I can check. So I'm going to check all these real quick. Make sure they're all good. They all look like they're good. And then there is little spots. There is little spots of plastic gauge on the crank, like journal as well. I can kind of check them there too. Focus. After I verify these are all good, I need to go back and clean this all up. Make sure everything's clean. Make sure it's clean again. Reinstall everything. Torque it all back down to spec, and that should be the last time I have to mess with it. So right here, straight out of the manual, it's even saying to use plastic gauge. For new parts, we want it 0.02 to 0.06 millimeters, or 0.8 to 2/4. The packaging that the plastic gauge came in, I cut a little piece off, has a little measurement. So right there, this big green square is 1 thou, 1 thou and a half, 2 thou, and 3 thou. So it's like a little chart right there. And on the opposite side is 0.025 to 0.076 millimeters. If we come over here to the main caps, you can see the plastic gauge right there. We're going to hold this gauge up next to it. So we are probably a little bit less than 1 thou and a half. It's definitely not 1 thou. And it's definitely not 2. 2 is too small. 1 thou and a half is a little bit too big. So I would say we're probably at 1 thou and maybe 6 or 7 tenths. If you look at the metric side. We're a little bit smaller, well, 0.051. We're definitely bigger than that, but we're definitely smaller than 0.083. So I'd say we're somewhere right in the middle. So the inch side, we said we were a little under 1.5 thou. Or a little over one. We were a little bit over 1.5 thou. So I guess about 1 thou 7 tenths. Well, the upper limit's 2 thou and 4 tenths. So we're definitely in the specification. So I think we're gonna be good. So I think we're gonna call that good there. I'm gonna go ahead and get this engine cleaned off, get all the caps and everything, the bearings cleaned off, and put this all back together. As long as I don't trip over this stupid fan. Alright guys, I think that's gonna be about it for this video. There will be a part 2 of assembling the rest of the engine. It's kind of a bummer about the Jetta, but once we get that turbo fixed up, we got some big things coming for the Jetta actually. Wasn't gonna spoil any surprises, but you'll see it in the next video. But on that note, Post Pro signing off. See you guys later.